Are you working on your SP manifestation? Are you in a situation whereby you're getting frustrated because your SP isn't showing up for you in the way that you would like? Maybe it's an ex and you've had this turbulent relationship, you've broken down, maybe you're in no contact, or maybe there's just a lot of animosity. Every time you talk, you argue. Maybe they've even moved on. They're saying they don't love you, they don't want to be with you, or they just don't want to commit to you. Whatever the reason is, or is it just someone that you've met but they're not showing you any attention? Well, this video is for you. First up, I just want to thank you guys for joining me. I'm Athena Raven. I'm a mental health and manifestation life coach. And yes, it is truly, truly important to merge in the mental health aspect with this manifestation journey, as it is all about yourself, your awareness, and changing your perspectives of the world so it is reflected out to you in the way that you desire. Please do like and subscribe to the content if you enjoy what you see, and join my family here on YouTube. I've also got TikTok where I do regular live sessions as well. If you want to ask me any questions going live, come and join me on my TikTok as well. All the information is down in my description below. I'd love to see you there too. Now, with regards to this particular topic, as you know, I'll always tell you guys from the bottom of my heart, God's honest truth, everything that I had been through, my own experiences. I'll only ever really talk from my own personal experiences, because with this whole law, it's very easy for a lot of coaches, and I do notice a lot of coaches do this, or they call themselves coaches, but essentially what they're doing is they're well read maybe on some of the topics. In a lot of cases, they misunderstand what is being stated by Neville Goddard or Joe Dispenza or Florence Scovel Shinn or whoever it is that you focus on and are inspired by. They'll misinterpret a lot of the teachings, because it's not just about learning everything on textbook. It's about experiencing it yourself, and you never really truly understand this law. It's the same with a mental health issue. Someone with chronic depression, someone who's never had depression at all, although they've read up about it, they've read up on the symptoms, they'll never really truly understand what that other person is going through unless they've lived it through themselves. So I have lived a lot of this stuff myself. Like I say, nearly 20 years of doing this consciously, of becoming aware of the laws, of becoming more aware of Neville's teachings, and even following other people as well. Like I said, I have looked through the spectrum of various people who have talked about it, either from the law of attraction or law of assumption standpoint. And so I've experienced it. I've experienced what goes wrong, what goes right. Can you change someone's perspective on you? Can you make them conform to your desire, to what you want them to be? In my personal experience, and that of my clients as well, yes. I've seen it happen too many times for it to be a coincidence. I've seen it happen too many times for it to just be chance or good luck. There is certainly something in this. And if you're in a situation where your SP is not conforming or showing up in the way that you would like them to show up, what can you do about it? Well, I'll share from my own experience, and I have shared about this before in my previous videos, but let's put it all here in one place, so you guys can just refresh yourselves on this. And for those of you who are new as well, gain an understanding of it too. My very, very first SP that I always revert back to, because back then I was new to the laws, because back then I was still learning, because back then actually that particular scenario had so many bumps along the way, had so many obstacles that I was aware of. Third-party involvements, drugs, he didn't love me anymore, animosity, distance between us. We had everything that you could potentially throw in the way of it. We had that. And so how did I turn things around from him being nasty to me, not wanting to be with me, saying that he didn't love me, stating that he loved someone else, blocking me off, treating me like I just didn't matter, being on drugs as well, and just being totally unreliable and untrustworthy? How did I change all of that to make him become the complete polar opposite? I mean, like I've said before in previous videos, he has done a complete 180. And I swear to God, if you met, I mean, to this day, we are the best of friends. We came back for our loving relationship. We had a good, committed relationship. But of course, over those years, you know, I grew, I changed, I wanted something different, and we still managed to maintain this friendship, although he still adores and cherishes me to this day. And, you know, I love him to bits. He's a completely different person. Now, how do you do this? What is the process for this? Well, it's no different from manifesting absolutely anything else that you would desire. You know that you can manifest for other people. In fact, manifesting stuff for other people tends to be easier than manifesting stuff for yourself. And so I was manifesting him. I wanted him back. So my focus was always on me and always on me and him. I didn't give any attention to the third party, apart from to do some visuals to diminish that third party involvement from my conscious mind. So it wasn't at the forefront of my thoughts and attention. So that filtered out of my attention, and it just became about me and him, and this absolute certainty, developing this absolute knowing that we were going to be together. I knew what he was capable of. Remember, we occupy states all the time and we shift states regularly. If you're doing a meditation or imaginary act and you're with your SP, the state you are occupying is that of being loved, being cherished, feeling fulfilled in the relationship compartment of your life, feeling attractive, magnetic, feeling good enough, feeling worthy. Who knows? You're probably encountering all of these things during your imaginal act, and you're embodying that feeling, you're embodying that state there and then. But there is a core state that all of us have that we always tend to revert back to. And during the day, so you might have an argument with your boss and bang, you know, you're out of state and you're in a different state of being frustrated and angry. Now, with my SP, at that time, I knew what he was capable of. When we first got together, he always had a little issue with drugs and addiction, but absolutely nothing on the scale that it became in later years. And he was reliable, he was dependable at first, and absolutely cherished and adored me. So the fact that things petered off to the opposite of that, and he didn't want to know me, didn't want to be with me, I knew what he was capable of. And we only occupy these states. Every state is permanent. Every single state exists for us to occupy it. It's no different from countries that exist, and we are the travelers going from country to country. The country still exists even when you leave that country behind. It's the same with states. So I had gone from this state of feeling unloved and feeling unworthy and feeling rejected to feeling prioritized, feeling loved, knowing that he was coming into my life, going into my imaginal state, feeling, yes, he is in my life now. I have everything I want. And not only that, in my imaginal act, I'm depicting him how I wish him to be, treating me in the way that I wanted him to treat me, clambering on to those assumptions of he is clean, he is working a good job, he is financially dependable and mentally dependable, everything that I didn't have before, because he never really held down a good job, so he was never financially dependable. It was always me paying out for things and doing things financially all the time. And anytime he did have money, which was rare, okay, then he would splash out a bit on me, but it was a rare occasion. It was always me giving in the relationship. If he needed anything, if he was in trouble, I was there so much more for him than he was for me. I never had that with him. And you're probably wondering, why would you want someone like that back? But of course, I realized that people can change. And I've always believed that even before I knew about the laws, people can change. We don't remain in a state. You don't have to be stuck in a state. Do not imprison yourself in any state of being. Just because you feel like you're in a state now and, oh, I suffer with chronic depression, there's no way out of this. This is a genetic thing, a hormonal thing, and I'm stuck. It's still a state. It's a state of mind and a state of being. You are not stuck. The only reason we get imprisoned in these states is because of the beliefs we harbor about that particular state and the obstacles and how we're going to get through it. But I've proved it to myself enough times, even with mental health. I don't have to stay in that state, and I've gotten myself out of it. So it's not always easy. And for me, for that, for removing myself out of those states, things like cognitive behavioral therapy and hypnosis helped me on that journey. And that's why I studied it myself as well, to utilize it on my clients, because I know how helpful it can be. Now, it's no different when you've done your imaginal act, you've shifted state, loving, committed relationship, got it right. So with your SP as well, you will see them differently and think of them differently. I didn't see him as this animosity, remembering the fights that we had. At first, it's probably a good idea. In fact, if you've had a really turbulent past, like me and him did, awful arguments towards the end of our relationships, awful breakdown. So I went into revision. I would revise a lot of that past stuff. I would revise the arguments, getting him to say the things that I would have preferred him to say to me, attaching a new meaning to the past situation so that I could put that at peace and it wasn't going to act as a buffer for my new manifestation. Remember, when you are manifesting an SP, particularly for those of you manifesting an X, you're not manifesting the same relationship back. It's so important. You're manifesting a new relationship with a new version of them and a new version of you, because remember, that relationship didn't work out the first time around. So why would you want to bring that back? I didn't want him back as the unreliable junkie who would steal from me, who would cheat, who was a liar, I didn't want any of that. I wanted him a certain way and I saw him that way. You can put people into a state just as you put yourself into a state. As Neville had said, if you see someone who is unemployed, who wants to be employed, then go into your imaginal act. You don't need to ask their permission to do it, as long as it sticks within his golden rule, and the golden rule of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. So yes, I'd like to see myself gainfully employed in a situation that is positive. I'm going to put that person in a better situation in my imaginal act and have the assumption that that's what they are, that's who they are. See them gainfully employed. And I would see that of him in my imaginal acts and in my assumptions. I would see that he was employed. I would see that he was driving legally, which he never did, but I would see him driving legally, clean off drugs, loving, adoring, cherishing me, being honest with me, being there for me financially and mentally, and just turning up as, well, I suppose, I don't like the word perfect, but the ideal boyfriend, the boyfriend that I wanted. And I believed within my heart, even though he never, in the 9 years that we were together prior, he never embodied all of those attributes. I still believed, I knew that he could embody those attributes, that he was perfectly capable of having a job, of being reliable, of being clean off drugs. Completely clean off drugs as well, which even the day I met him, he wasn't teetotal. But anyway, I stuck with that assumption. I had revised the past, which made it easier. I had focused in on my imaginal acts and my shift in state. And within doing that, my assumptions of him was that he was changing, was that he was shifting too. And I would imagine him just that better person, being everything that I wanted him to be, as well as imagining for myself, imagining the two of us together, coming together in a loving, committed relationship and stating things to each other in that visual act that suggested he's made that change to that ideal partner that I've always wanted, that ideal version of him, as am I. So it's all about your imaginal act, revision of the past, if it's an ex and you can't get past what they've been doing, and turning your beliefs around. So when you're aware of your inner talking and any beliefs that come up within you that I'm still thinking that they don't like me, I'm still thinking that I'm not loved, still thinking of the past, still thinking of the things that they said to me, then just sit with those thoughts and jot them down and try to find a challenge for each one. I do this with my clients in a really deep dive way so that we can rewire that way of thinking, because it becomes so automatic we don't realize we're doing it. So you have to just become very aware of yourself and what your assumptions are, because remember, an assumption that is persisted in, according to Neville Goddard, will harden into fact. So if that's the case, and I have experienced this myself and experimented myself, and I've gotten my clients to do it also, and those that have had success have done it really well, have really honed in on it, have really dedicated themselves to it. If you do that and you become more and more aware every single day, everything else will start to shift and they will mirror that assumption that you had of them. And like I say, I saw him as the ideal boyfriend, and that's what he's become. And like to this day, clean off drugs, working a good job. He helped me out financially when I was in a predicament. No way could I have ever expected him to do that back in our previous relationship. It was like he was a whole new person. And the second time round can be more magical, more fulfilling, more committed than the first time round. So don't be disheartened. Don't be disillusioned by the 3D and what others are telling you. Everyone and everything is you pushed out. Nothing is separate from you. No one is separate from you. Even you and I, you guys watching this video now, you're all connected to me as I am to you. So keep that in mind. Keep strong to your assumptions and your imaginal act and what state you are putting them in, as well as what state you are putting within yourself, and be conscious of that state you are occupying. So I hope this made sense. If you have any questions, do ask in the comments below. And I do offer one-to-one coaching for those of you that need a bit more support. But I'm sending you all the love and light in the world on your journey. See you soon.